Hi, Freddie.
Like Hemingway and Fitzgerald. I mean, they wrote, about the time so much that you could almost take a history course by reading their work.
If we want anything out of our culture, I think the Brady Sims is going to come out of our literature.
If you're going to set out to make a pornographic movie, the rule is this. There's only one rule. Is that the person will see the movie who thinks that the movie will be a better fantasy than he himself can come up with.
That's surprising.
The guy gave me a C on it because he said but he said I would have marked you higher if you had known what you were talking about.
Rationality is so easy, but the things that are great spouting fountains of human possibility, creativity, are the things that are not rational, that are slightly crazy, or maybe a lot crazy. It could be said that Hitler proceeded on some such principle. So he did. But so did Sophocles. So did Eliot. So did Dylan Thomas. So did Hart Crane. End of sermon. And you're sort of shy, and you're sort of afraid of it, because you think it doesn't belong to you. Because maybe Keats should have said this. Yeah, buddy, but he didn't. I said it. Right. I have only one rule of thumb about anything I write when I think it might be good or it might be a disaster. Is when I begin to say something that I had no notion that I knew. This is probably what Plato meant by seizure, inspiration, or whatever. That's as close as I've ever been able to get to it. I mean, no wonder writers sell like grandmothers down the river and divorce and get syphilis and end up in alcoholic wards, one thing and another. I mean, once having had that, you know that there's not anything that you could do that would ever be so important.
69 jet service to Atlanta and Chicago. 40 passengers through gate 4.
Okay, put that in over here.
I tell you, I think I better go with you.
I want you to go with me. I don't like those other girls.
Bye. $5. Have a nice one.
Yeah, the stewardess will take that from you.
Yes.
Okay, love you. Check that you have that receipt always. That's when I should. Okay? Here, you got it? Okay. $5.
To the right there.
You sure? Yeah. Okay, let's go. Ladies sportswear.
Ladies sportswear.
I mean, what sports are there for ladies besides
Oh, no,
bowling?
I don't mean that. Ladies sportswear. Like you wear sportswear. You can wear a suit or you can wear sportswear.
Yeah.
I sell skirts and blouses and sweaters and jumpers and things like that.
Sports is a very wide category.
Yeah, I can see you're not in this business.
Oh, no. That'd be the first thing I'd have to say. I'm not.
What do you do?
I'm a writer.
Writer?
It's a very mysterious kind of profession.
I write orders.
Yeah.
Different kind of writing. Yeah. What sort of writing do you do?
Poetry.
Poetry?
Poetry.
That's a different line than I'm in.
Yeah. As you said to me earlier, I can see that you're not mental.
You're right. You're right.
Okay, 63, what was here?
Well, glad to see you. Earl Simpson?
Rodney Phillips.
We got here.
Okay, glad to see you.
There it is now. There's the old skyline of Atlanta.
We have had several articles in the different newspapers around.
Yeah, and I'm much obliged for you sending them along.
I'll try to send all of them when I get back and when this week gets over with, if I have some more time.
Very nice.
Altogether on this issue and this event, I think we've had about 8 or 9 articles. And an awful lot of excitement. I've had about 50 more phone calls in the last 2 days about it.
They're very good.
People that know you, people that want to come.
Very good. Well, there's going to be a lot of people there. Now, what are we're talking about 11 o'clock. Now, what is that? I mean, some kind of mysterious thing. So I'm supposed to address somebody. But I'm just going to read some things. Is that all right? Because I don't have any speech or talk on the metaphysics of modern poetry or anything like that. I think most of the life of a wandering bard in these days is spent on strange highways with neat green signs that have inexplicable names on them. These have explicable names because I grew up knowing where they were.
I have some things too that I write.
Okay, well, I'll finally make time to look at it.
Yeah.
I better have something leaning on.
Really been so excited about this. I haven't been able to study or eat.
You shouldn't do the things that you used to do.
When you get on a college campus, there are two groups of people that you can sort of see them separate as they're in the crowd.
Backward and backward. It seemed to me as if you were simply making an attempt to go inward.
The one group wants to use the poet as a pretext for something.
It's not a whole way of life.
The other are the groping kids who think that human expression is possible. I mean, you sort of naturally gravitate to one or the other.
This is a very significant day in the life of DeKalb College as a cultural and literary center. It's significant because of the presence of Mr. Dickey. It's also significant because we have been recognized by both the mayor of the city of Atlanta.
When I began to write poetry and sort of surreptitiously send out a poem to a journal of some sort, there could have been no less promising vocation. I mean, it was so unpromising that it was ludicrous.
Furiously held lips loom lugubriously above his head, like an
among the insurance salesmen and owners of chain grocery stores. And to be an American poet, there was nothing. I mean, how absurd can you get? I mean, buddy.
And the fiery golden.
And you go to these schools now, and thousands of kids want to listen to what you say. Why? What have I got to say that's all that important?
And he is a poet, and he is a man. And I would like to present Mr. James Dickey.
And yet, the president of the school introduces you, you step up there, and you have at it. And why not? You come back to a hometown like Buckhead, years and years later. You remember what it was like then. You wonder if any of the same fellows are still around. To some people, some people like myself, it becomes obsessive to you that you find one person that you knew, just one, or who would recognize you. Otherwise, you're just going around like a ghost.
A good bit, and they don't seem to age too much. But I'm sure when someone comes up and looks at me and they haven't seen me in 20 years, they'll say, my gosh, he's really aged. They don't say that to you, but I'm thinking the same thing about it.
As a matter of fact. Yeah. No. So this is about that. And this is called Looking for the Buckhead Boys. Some of the time going home, I go blind and can't find it. The house I lived in growing up and out the doors of high school is torn down and cleared away for further development. But that does not stop me. First in the heart of my blind spot are the Buckhead boys. If I can find them, even one, I'm home. And if I can find him, catch him, in or around Buckhead, I'll never die. It's likely my youth will walk inside me like a king. First of all, going home, I must go to Wenda and Robert's drugstore. For driving through, I saw it shining, renewed in chromium, but still there. It's one of the places the Buckhead boys used to be before beer turned teenager. Tommy Nichols is not there. The drugstore is full of women made of cosmetics. Tommy Nichols has never been in such a place. He was the number 2 man on the mile relay team in his day. What day? My day. Where was I? Number 3. And there are some sunlit pictures in the Book of the Dead to prove it. The 1939 North Fulton High School Annual. Go down to Tyree's pool hall, for there was more concentration of the spirit of the Buckhead boys in there than anywhere else in the world. Do I want some shoes to walk all over Buckhead like a king nobody knows? Well, I can get them at Tyree's. It's a shoe store now. I could tell you where every spittoon ought to be standing. Charlie Gates used to say, one of these days I'm going to get myself the reputation of being the bravest man in Buckhead. I'm going in Tyree's toilet and pull down my pants and take a shit. Maybe Charlie's the key. The man who would say that would never leave Buckhead. Where is he? Maybe I ought to look up some old merchants. Why didn't I think of that before? Lord, Lord, like a king. Hardware. Hardware and hardware merchants never die, and they have everything on hand there is to know. Somewhere in the wood screws, Mr. Hamby may have my prodigal's crown on sale. He showed up for every football game at home or away in the hills of North Georgia. There he is, as old as ever. Mr. Hamby, remember me? God almighty. Ain't you the one who fumbled a punt and lost the Russell game? That's right. How them butterfingers? Still butter, I say, still fumbling. But what about the rest of the team? What about Charlie Gates? He the boy that got lime in his eye from the goal line when y'all played Gainesville? Right. I don't know. Seems to me I see. What does Charlie Gates see in his eye burning with the goal line? Does he see a middle-aged man from the Book of the Dead looking for him in magic shoes from Tyree's disappeared pool hall? Mr. Hamby, where? Where is Mont Black? Paralyzed, doctors can't do nothing. Where is Dick Shea, assistant sales manager of Kraft Cheese? How about Punchy Henderson? Died of a heart attack watching high school football in South Carolina. Old Punchy, the last of the wind sprinters, and now for no reason the first of the heart attacks. Harmon Quigley, he's up at County Work Farm 16. Doing all right up there, be out next year. Didn't anybody get to be a doctor or lawyer? Sure, Bobby Last is a chiropractor. He's right out here at Bolton, got a real good business. Jack Seipel moved away. Gordon Ham, dead in the war. Oh, the Book of the Dead and the dead bright sun on the page where the team stands ready to explode in all directions with time. Did you say you see Charlie Gates every now and then? Seems to me. Where? He may be out on at the Gulf Station between here and Sandy Springs. Let me go pull my car out of the parking lot in back of Wendell and Roberts. Do I need gas? No. Let me drive around the block. Let me drive around Buckhead a few dozen times, turning in my foreign car till the town spins, whirls till the chrome vanishes from Wyndham Roberts, the spittoons are remade from the sun itself, the dead pages flutter, the hearts rise up that lie in the ground, and Bobby Lasta's back-breaking fingers pick up a cue stick. Tommy Nichols and I rack the balls, and Charlie Gates walks into Tyree's unimaginable toilet. I go north now, and I can use 50 cents worth of gas. It is Gulf. I pull in and praise the Lord. Charlie Gates comes out. His blue shirt dazzles like a baton pass. He squints, he looks at me through the goal line. Charlie, we have won at home in the last minute. Can you see me? You say what I say. Where in God Almighty have you been all this time? I don't know, Charlie. I don't know. But I've come to tell you a secret that has to be put into code. Understand what I mean when I say to the one man who came back alive from the book of the dead, to the bravest man in Buckhead, to the lime-eyed ghost blue wavering in the fumes of good Gulf gas, fill her up with wine, light, heart attack blood, the contents of Tyree's toilet, the beer of teenage sons. No, just fill her up. Fill her up, Charlie. The first draft to me is not sacrosanct at all. All I'm seeking from that is a possible direction. And after I take it through, say, sometimes 150 drafts, the final version bears no relation whatever, no discernible relation to what I started with.
So your poetry worked over that many times?
Yes. It's worked over to get the worked-on quality out of it.
That's a rather rough way of writing.
Yeah, it is rough and takes a long time, but it's the best way that I've found to do it.
You said that you couldn't be a fixed-hour man anymore because you're hustling about too much. Do you have to hustle about?
Yes, I like to get around a lot. To begin with, there's an awful lot of money in it. You get to see people that you otherwise wouldn't see. And in the back of your mind, there is the perhaps misconceived idea that you're doing your profession, poetry, some good.
Some people say that, this is a technical thing, like an essay or a short story or something like this. And then to other people, poetry's like a religion to them in a way, like something holy and untouchable.
Poetry really is nothing more or less than a man or a person trying to say something immortally. Something that, what is it Milton says, that succeeding generations will not willingly let die. Maybe they will, probably they will. But he's trying to say it as memorably as he can in his own way.
How do you evaluate Rod McEwen next to someone like yourself?
Not possible.
Well, they're both trying to say something immortal. How do you teach that?
I don't know how you teach it. I think the language sense, the sense of a heightened and more memorable language is either overt or latent in everybody. I like speech rhythms very much myself. Because they seem to give a note of authenticity to the poem that a more artificial language wouldn't give. And people now are so desperate for honesty. Honesty of tone, honesty of feeling, honesty of statement, of diction, and so on, that they have gone away from that in favor of something that is more humanly convincing. What motivates me to write a particular poem in the beginning is that something flashes into my mind and I say, Jesus, wouldn't that be terrific? Now suppose I did this with it. And I'm in it. It's got me, yeah.
that sense of survival that you have keep you from thinking that the world right now is a very depressing place in which
It is a very depressing place, but the fact that it's depressing and that we have a lot of social and international troubles and so on doesn't keep the world from being the most glorious thing ever conceived.
The forecast for Cape Cod and the islands from the U.S. Weather Bureau in Boston. Mostly fair today, with the temperatures in the upper 30s to the lower 40s. Fair and cold tonight.
I think there are other things more important than literary excellence. The standard is what is said to be literary excellence. And I think that's a very short string. I mean, Wordsworth, for example, he's not so good, really. You know, all these great stuffed goats of English literature, Milton, you have to accord him some kind of stature. But college professors spend their lives on exegeses, or whatever the hell the word is, of Milton's prosody and so on, which is, some of it is remarkable in a way, but it doesn't matter, really. I mean, who cares about Paradise Lost? I mean, really, who cares about it? I was subjected to reading that in high school, and that was a thing that turned me off poetry. In other words, one is forced to read Milton at North Fulton County High School, you know? If they say to you, this is poetry, then you say, I could sure live without that, you know, because the world is there. I mean, the world is out there, and Milton has nothing to do with it. He's not saying anything to me. It's only an official masterpiece, and there's no greater disaster.
Can I ask you a question about another kind of ideal? Do you think people expect poets to do the agonizing for them?
What do you think of Lenny Bruce?
Why do people get satisfaction out of Dylan Thomas drinking himself to death?
How do you feel about the, quote, liberated woman?
Oh, my. The liberated woman. Well,
then how do you feel about the, unquote, liberated woman?
Again, I'm not a woman. How do you feel about it? I mean, you haven't really lived in the age of the unliberated woman, where the woman was protected and, as they say, cherished. I've seen enough marriages where the woman is insisted on her individuality and refuses to do the things that women have always done because she considers that a badge of her subservience to men. The endless wrangling about who's going to cook supper and endless wrangling about money.
But like right now, like I'm going through school and I'm going to go into a profession, and when I get married, do you think I can stop all that?
You seem like you're very concerned with the extinction of animals.
Yeah.
But then, well, all right, tomorrow you're going out on a hunting expedition.
Yeah, that does seem paradoxical, I admit. But the odds are all on the side of the animal, I can safely assure you. But hunting with archery hunting is really is not an attempt to exterminate all deer. I mean, it's really part of it could be looked on as it should be looked on as part of the ecology. No.
You get them inside a 40.
I'd have to be off of desk before I take it. Like no other generation of men, I suppose our generation and our time is haunted by extinction. And I think we have an indication of what is quite likely to happen to us in the extinction of any animal species. Anyway, this is about that. For the last Wolverine, they will soon be down to one, but he still will be for a little while. Still will be stopping the flakes in the air with a look, surrounding himself with the silence of whitening snarls. Let him eat the last red meal of the condemned to extinction, tearing the guts from an elk. Yet that is not enough for me. I would have him eat the heart, and from it have an idea stream into his gnawing head that he no longer has a thing to lose, and so can walk out into the open in the full pale of the subarctic sun where a single spruce tree is dying higher and higher. Let him climb it with all his meanness and strength. Lord, we have come to the end of this kind of vision of heaven. As the sky breaks open its fans around him and shimmers, and into its northern gates he rises, snarling, complete, in the joy of a weasel with an elk's horned heart in his stomach, looking straight into the eternal blue where he hauls his kind. I would have it all my way. At the top of that tree I placed the New World's last eagle, hunched in mangy feathers, giving up on the theory of flight. Dear God of the wildness of poetry, let them mate to the death in the rotten branches. Let the trees sway and burst into flame and mingle them crackling with feathers in crown fire. Let something come of it, something gigantic, legendary, rise beyond reason over hills of ice, screaming that it cannot die, that it has come back, this time on wings, and will spare no earthly thing. That it will hover, made purely of northern lights at dusk, and fall on men building roads, will perch on the moose's horn like a falcon riding into battle, into holy war against screaming railroad crews, will pull whole trap lines like fibers from the snow in the long-jawed night of fur trappers. But small, filthy, unwinged, you will soon be crouching alone, with maybe some dim racial notion of being the last, but none of how much your unnoticed going will mean, how much the timid poem needs the mindless explosion of your rage, the glutton's internal fire, the elk's heart in the belly sprouting wings, the pact of the blind swallowing thing with himself to eat the world, and not to be driven off it until it is gone, even if it takes forever. I take you as you are, and make of you what I will, skunk bear, carcajou, bloodthirsty non-survivor. Lord, let me die, but not die out.
Well, maybe next year we'll get them, huh?
You don't sound like you're from New York.
Listen, believe me, I'm not. You know, I come from South Carolina.
South Carolina?
Yeah.
So you come down in business or what?
Well, yeah, sort of business.
What kind of business you in?
Well,
you don't mind me asking that?
No. And I'm a writer, and I have to talk to editors and other folks.
What sort of writing do you do?
I write poetry, and I got a novel coming out, and do some criticism and one thing and another. You ever, I don't know, what have you read lately? I mean, really, I'd be interested to know what people read.
Well, I read classics.
What classics?
Comic classics.
Comic classics, all right.
You major in anything special, anything on a specific thing, or?
Well, I try to tell what it's like to be alive and on the planet. You know, you ever have that feeling of being very lucky to be around?
Yeah. Sometimes.
Yeah, that's all. It's really no mystery to it. That's all.
I don't think I've ever asked anyone this, but I'm always asked it when I give a reading.
And it's who do you write for? They asked me the same thing, and that's one of the things that I'm unequivocally clear on. I write for my own sensibility, my own scheme of things, because there doesn't seem to be any way for me to do it other than that. It's a rather small thing, almost like growing a garden. You know how gardens are made, but you just make it for its own symmetry and so forth. Yeah, right. You're not competing in a flower show, and you don't want it to be televised to millions of people. And it's queer. I guess we call a craft something you can do until you fall into senility. Art is what you can't do. Yet it has an element of craftsmanship. Yes, an element. But the craftsmanship is only to give some kind of frame of reference to this random thing, this random idea, something that you think, if you could find the form for it and the words for it, would make a new heaven and a new earth. I mean, people would see, they would break through this kind of glass wall that we all live behind, and we would really, I mean, you know the most heartbreaking of all dreams? I'll tell you what mine is. And I've dreamed it maybe 3 times in my life, and I hope I died dreaming it. It's so obsessive with me that I talk about it around home with Maxine, Chris, and Kevin, my little boy, and so on, which I call the legend of the happy swimming pool. And I'm somewhere in the neighborhood where I grew up in Atlanta, and I go down a street that I've never been on before. I mean, there was no reason ever to go there. And there's a marvelous swimming pool. There's lovely girls, you know, who are crazy about me. I mean, and there's this sense of where have you been? You know, we've been waiting for you all these years. That's what. Then do they recede? No, I wake up. You wake up. You recede. I recede. Yeah. Oh, I recede. No, that's sad. You know this feeling, though. Yeah. That there's something in your life that you could, all you have to do is turn a corner or open a door, and it'll all be so. I don't fear the nightmare. I can take any nightmare. I fear the dream which is good, which has the reality that we can't achieve in reality. I don't fear the nightmare. I fear those tears of loss and deprivation when you're at the happy swimming pool, which is kind of like Eden, you see, for a few minutes of one anonymous suburban night, and it's forever gone, you know. I fear the end of a happy dream. I have a flight of fancy that, you know, the other dream, which is the most horrible to me. I haven't had it often and haven't had it in late years, but I used to. And it's the dream where you've done something. And as the dream goes on, you're not quite sure, but you know you've done it, and everything you do makes it worse. Yeah. And it's something you've done to somebody. Yeah. Or another form is something wrinkled that you try to smooth and it gets more and more wrinkled. Yes, yes. And I'd say everyone does a kind of art. It's impossible to live if you doodle. It's kind of low art. And but ours claims to have, profundity of feeling or thought and grace of craftsmanship, which in that way it's superior to all the little arts that people practice. What it does have, I mean, in this kind of rare instances, what art does, poetry, you and I have given our lives to it, and we'll give the rest of our lives to it, at least in some way, is that it has a life-enhancing quality to it. It makes the terror more terrible, and the love more love, and it essentially operates in the realm of values, what one puts store by. If it hadn't been for poetry, I'd have been a high school football coach in South Carolina. I feel the same way. It's been my vocation and love. A silly thing just went through my mind as we're talking. Miserable the man who's never tried to write a Bach fugue. Yes, it did. I think that people undervalue themselves. There's no glory. That's a word that people would rather die than utter, is glorious, you know, or splendor. Splendor. Who has ever seen any splendor, really? You know, one must minimize. We sort of belong to the all-come-off-it generation, you know. If you said, I walked out and I looked at the sun coming up, and it just came, it was inevitable, you know. Yeah, your buddy would probably say to you, oh, come off it. What's the matter with you? But I don't want to come off it, I want to get on it. Really.